there. Can you hear me okay? Great. My name is Steve Frey. Yep. I'm an artist and architect living in Montpelier with my family. I want to share with you today a series of watercolors that I did last summer. It's a series of watercolors that I did at the edge of the shore of Lake Michigan in a place I vacationed with my family. And it's a very special place. And over the years, I've watercolored there many times, painting many, many different things. This year, I decided to look at the shore and just understand and seek out what it meant to paint waves and really focus in on something simple. And the more I looked at these images, these are in sequence, by the way, the more I learned that I didn't really understand waves. And so in a way, what I'm sharing with you tonight is really my journey into understanding of what it meant to paint the wave action, the nature of natural forces moving back and forth during different points of the day, whether it's morning or afternoon or early evening. And each one of these watercolors is, the way I look at it, is it's like a take in playing jazz. Or playing like a saxophone, and every song is a little different. Each one of these images took anywhere from 15 or 20 minutes to 2.5 or 3 hours, depending on the kind of detail and the sort of techniques that I was using. And in each and every one of them was sort of a joy of sort of unfolding and experience that some are more abstract, some are more realistic. And over the course of that time, the more I did it, the more I understood that I didn't really understand, which for those of you that make art and have been making it for a long while, it's kind of a fascinating conversation that you have with yourself. And then I guess one of the things that I was starting to learn about doing this, which my family thought I was kind of crazy because I would disappear and go down to the edge of the water and sort of be down there for a while. And what I was learning was the nature of just sort of staying in place and discovering through doing over and over again. It's kind of the same scene in a way, but each of these is its own expression that began to kind of unfold. And I don't know if you've ever worked with watercolor, but for one of the things that it sort of is my muse, so to speak, from an artistic form, I really like how pigment and water move together and intermingle. You can get some really amazing, intriguing conditions that you really can't control, even if you try to control, even if you have a sense of how they go together and how things work. Even if you've painted 500 paintings, it's still something new every time. So here I am, sort of doing these paintings, and I'm still confounded what it means to make waves and to sort of understand them and depict them. And finally, towards the end of my time, this was over a period of 4 or 5 days at the beach, and the weather started to pick up and do some interesting things with the waves themselves. And all of a sudden, the wave action started to get more intense, and you started to see crests on the waves. And it was really interesting for me because all of a sudden, I started to understand the nature of how to be there and depict what I was seeing. And literally, it's looking for the white space of the wave crests. It began to teach me and sort of lead me into understanding the composition that was happening in sort of my improvisational activity of painting. And towards the end here of these images, you'll start to see a kind of more white coming to the forefront. And in the meanwhile, I'm not necessarily understanding that. But as I move through the progression, I'm sort of, my mind's wandering. And in a way, it's almost like a Zen-like process, which I don't know if you're all artists of different kinds and different media. And that Zen-like space is an interesting place to be. And for me, that was one of the other discoveries of doing this, because I was doing this over and over again. And by rights, I would have been extremely bored, but for me, it was more like seeing into the infinity and loving what I was seeing. And along the way, too, you start to look at pushing sort of watercolor techniques and learning about wet on wet and dry on dry, dry on wet and wet on dry, and everything in between. And discovering that, gee, maybe there's something going on here, that this is a collection of various experiences that I guess I would share with you, in sort of the hope of if you go on a vacation or some sort of adventure where it's an art adventure, give yourself the space, give yourself the time to kind of really dig in and dig down and take that time and begin to see what it is that you're looking for. You may not necessarily know what you're looking for when you start. In fact, some of the earlier images that I made were extremely almost preconceived, like I was painting what I thought a seashore image was. And the more I got into it, the more that went away, and it was more about the emotion, the feeling, the power of water. And that, to me, was profound in a sense from a discovery. It seems really simple, but it was very cathartic and very exciting. And this is an example of where all of a sudden I sort of got the idea of white space. All the white here is just the paper of the watercolor paper. And it's amazing how fast you can move when you don't have to cover all that with pigment and things like that. And for me, it became kind of like an interesting point of discovery. So I just hope I can inspire you to pick up your favorite media and your favorite materials and take it with you on your next adventure. And maybe you'll find something that will engage you in the way that the waves of South Haven and Michigan engaged me. Thank you very much.